Big up yourself, kings and queens. Big up yourself, all you originals. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you. Welcome to the 22nd official episode of the Big Up Yourself show. I am your host, Winsome Alexander. I am a self empowerment mentor. I've been certified, you guys, one of Texas's most inspiring women. Yes, me. And if you stay with this channel, you'll learn why. Okay. I've been working with survivors of trauma since 2008, and I am absolutely fascinated with survivor stories and how we overcome adversity and trauma and challenging situations to go on to do amazing things with our life. I'm also thrilled to see the way that we use our gifts and talents to serve and to make our own mark in the world. And a show like this allows me to share these incredible humans with you. And so it's my heart, and I just love it. So if any of this interests you, then I invite you to subscribe. And I'll give you 3 seconds to do that. Here's the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Did you subscribe? Thank you so much. That means a lot to me and this channel. And don't forget to press the thumbs up button and like the video, please. And leave us a juicy comment. If you don't want to commit your thoughts to the internet, then you can just comment, wow, it really makes a difference, means a lot to us. And YouTube can use that information to share this video with somebody who might need it. So welcome again. And today our topic is boundaries, setting healthy boundaries with love and grace. And I have a beautiful, beautiful spirit with me today. Her name is Kim Patterson. Welcome, Kim. I'm so excited to have you and so excited to have you help us on the topic of boundaries. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Winsome. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here, and I appreciate the work that you're doing so much.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Thank you. Now, okay, so for the longest time, I wasn't setting boundaries myself, right? I had so little self-respect, always valuing others more than I valued myself. But when I began to learn to value myself and become more authentic, automatically I wanted to set boundaries, right? To protect my energy, yes, and my peace of mind. And you guys comment and let me know when you started setting boundaries, and if setting boundaries is still difficult for you. Comment and let me know. So, Kim, all right, I want to find out, first of all, what is the story behind your name? Put it back on, Kim. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. I love it.
It is. And
I thought to wear that today because I wore my hair.
I've been wearing it everywhere. So
love it. Love it.
Get lots of comments.
So tell me about the story of your name. Who named you? What does it mean anything? Is there a story behind it?
There's not a meaning behind my name in particular that I'm aware of. But the company name I chose, the company that I'm growing right now, is called Be Happy Today.
Yes.
And that has a background to it. So it actually breaks down into the 3 words. Most people think being happy is Pollyanna, like always happy all the time. And it really, to me, it's not. It's finding that inner joy. So Be Happy Today. Be is about being present, being centered. Happy is about finding your happy, whatever it is that makes you happy and your joy. And a lot of times, more than not, it does have to do with boundaries, right? Okay. A lot of times. And then today, that is about today, because that's really all we have. We don't have yesterday. We don't have tomorrow. We literally just have today.
I'm glad you broke that down for us. So, but I do want to come back to the question of your name. Like, who named you?
Oh, my dad and my mom did.
Your dad and your mom. Did they say why they named you that?
They did not.
No. So there's no
But at
particular.
first it was, I do remember my dad telling me at first it was going to be Kimberly
Oh,
Patterson. And then
Kimberly.
they changed it to Kimberly. My mom wanted to change it to Kimberly Ann. So those are the only, that's a really good question. I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah. I'm always interested how people come by their names and if their
Yes.
names sitting in their names affect the way they go through life, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
So Willie Daniels has joined us and she said, Amen, Kim. Hi,
Oh,
Willie. All right. So, Kim, all right. So now it seemed to me that you've been dealing with boundaries for a long time. Did this start somewhere in your childhood? Is there a story from childhood, or is there a
absolutely.
difficult moment that caused you to begin to think about boundaries?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When I was little, we had a family of 6 kids. I was second to youngest. And at the time, my mom put me in a lot of situations that were not safe. And it, first of all, I want to say that those situations she put me in made me as a child learn that I didn't have any boundaries. It taught me I had no boundaries as far as my body was concerned.
Wow.
Other people could touch and do things to me, and in fact, it happened a lot to the point of I kept asking why. I kept asking God, why is this happening to me? Why do so many different men come to me? It was almost like they could see. Um, I think of it as the weak animal that gets
Yeah,
attacked.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and I could tell because of that. And it wasn't a safe place to say anything. One time when I did, nothing was done.
How old were you, Kim?
So 8-ish. A lot of this is blended in when some
Yes.
stuff. I there's a lot of parts missing and a lot of pieces missing. But I was molested repeatedly by different men, and sometimes, you know, like I said, my mom actually sent me to some people's homes that she knew. Now, understand, I've gone through a lot of work to forgive her. And
Yeah.
I know now there's a saying that what you repress, you repeat. And I
Yeah.
know now that my mom went through who knows what, and she
Yeah.
was doing the best that she could with what she had.
Yeah.
That doesn't excuse it,
Right.
but the only choice I have is to move forward with it.
Yeah.
And all of that confusion when I was growing up and not having a sense of anything really, when I got into high school, I just started craving. I don't know who I heard of first, if it was Zig Ziglar or somebody else, but I just started craving positive things, anything I could get my hands on. It was like I was trying to make sense of the world that I had been living in.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, and I'm 59 now, I have been studying personal growth. I have been wanting to find out what makes people tick, what things I need to improve in myself. And I've always wanted to um, be a coach, write a book, and be a public speaker. And I've always been too afraid until recently. And so I can, chat a little bit more about that as well. But the main thing is it's a process to learn boundaries, and I have some ideas and some things I can share that helped me
Right.
with that as well.
So, okay, so you went through some stuff. I'm so sorry all of that happened to you, by the way. And I'm familiar with,
I know you are. You've got a
yeah,
lot of
right.
people on your shows too.
Yes, yes, exactly. Now, what were some of the steps you did to kind of overcome And how did you begin to start loving yourself through the process
Mhm.
of
It's still a
healing?
process. It's still a process.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, all of the things that I listened to, I did a lot of counseling when I was in college, not understanding why I was the person that I was, and just trying to make sense and move forward with it. And probably the most growth I've had has been in the last 5 to 10 years, just because
Yeah.
I think age, honestly, I had kids, I had a life, I had to do, make a living, and it it changes things. I mean, your focus goes on to your family, and so I didn't spend as much time on me at that point. But one thing I have come to realize, and this is going to sound, it sounds strange to some people. I don't know if it'll sound strange to you, but I am grateful for what I went through. I'm not grateful I went through it. It's a
Yes.
difference. But I'm
Yes.
grateful for what I went through because of the growth I've had and
Yes.
because I am the person I am now. And I
Yes.
actually love myself now.
Yes.
It's been a long journey to get here.
Yes.
A long journey to get
As a matter of fact, let's have a
celebratory.
celebratory. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble with that word. All of a sudden, celebratory. Sip for you, Kim. Yay for the work you have done. Yay for taking charge of your healing. Yay for the progress you've made.
Thank
Mm,
you. Thank you. And
very nice.
that's another point too. We don't celebrate enough, right?
Aha!
We don't.
Good point. And see, this is why I do this show. It's and people are so resistant to celebrating themselves. And it makes me so sad, but it reminds me of where I'm coming from. That
Yes,
low self-esteem, that not valuing yourself, that not valuing your accomplishments and the efforts that you made and the little progress that you make. Yeah, it's all worthy of celebration.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're minding our boundaries, and you talked a little bit about your company and where the name Be Happy Today came from. And I love that. I love that Be Happy Today because it's effort that you have to make every single day, right? Decisions you have to make every single day to be happy. And I had started a little movement called the Depression Fighters Club, where I talked about things we do every single day to fight depression. So this whole thing about being happy today resonates with me. Tell us more about that, and give us, you know, talk to us about examples of boundaries. Like, where did the whole idea of boundaries come from?
Okay. I think I really started focusing on boundaries when I was teaching. I had special education, little guys and girls, the behavior kids, and they were the ones that kicked and hit and punched and threw desks. And there's quite a few things I learned from them. Um, but one of them is that behavior is a language.
Yeah.
And so if I could look behind their behavior, I could see so much more. And I still say that today. Behavior is a language.
Behavior is a language, guys. Wow, that's interesting.
I had one child in my class who threw just everything around, everything, and then collapsed in a bundle on the floor and cried, "Why doesn't my mom love me?" It's a language.
Yes, it's
And
trying to.
if we can see the language in
Mhm.
tears or in anger or in whatever it is that people are expressing, then it's easier for us to maybe see from behind, and it's easier to set boundaries, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, to set loving boundaries,
Yes.
to set the boundaries with love and compassion instead. I like how you mentioned setting boundaries from love and grace instead of anger.
Exactly.
And I think that's what most of us do. We get to a point where we're angry, and so we set these boundaries in anger, and that causes us to alienate people. Oh, my brain
Cuts
is
people
not quick
out.
to that. Yeah.
It cuts people out.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And
Right.
boundaries really are about safety. I mean, if you think about it, the best example I like to use, and I used to tell my parents this too, is think of a basketball court, right? You have players playing basketball, and there's boundaries and there's goals on the basketball court, and a referee is calling all the shots. But what happens if you take away those boundaries and you take away the goals? You have chaos.
Yes. Yes.
You have chaos, absolutely. And so it's important that a foul is a foul every time, and the consequence is the same.
A
Out
foul
of
is a foul every time, and the consequence is
consequence
the
is the
same.
same.
Wow.
Out of bounds is out of bounds every time, and the consequence is the same. Okay. But even important in what you talk about is a goal and it needs to be celebrated.
Yes. Wow.
So I use that with my parents, and I use it now in my coaching too, because it
Oh
really does
my God.
help people imagine and see, oh wow, it really does. I can do this with grace and love. I can set boundaries that are good, not only for me, but for you.
Yes.
And when I don't do those boundaries, Winsome, right, with a child as a parent, if you don't set a boundary in, or if you set it, let's just say you have a boundary and you say, okay, this is the boundary, and then you waffle on something else,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that child is going to keep pressing all the other
Yes.
areas to find out where the lines are. They crave boundaries. They want safety. And the same is true for us.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. This is so
It's what
good.
I've learned. It's not, it's not me. It's just what I've learned from watching and seeing and reading and listening a bunch of times to a lot of people. Um, so
Wow. So you use a basketball court example. That was good. That was profound. And you talked about words and their meanings. Well, let's talk about words and their meanings and how that relates to boundaries.
let's go back just a minute. I want you to
Okay.
imagine a referee,
Yeah.
right? Referee calls the shots.
Yeah.
As kind of our own selves, we have to be the referee of our life. But if a referee misses a call, what happens? Everyone gets upset.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
out of bounds. You didn't call
Ah.
it.
Uh-huh.
So it is important that those boundaries are set and held with love, and we can do that. And I have a story I can share with
Go
you.
ahead.
Okay. So a friend of mine called me, this was a couple years ago, fighting with her daughter,
Yes.
and just she won't listen to anything. We're fighting, she won't listen. And so I got on the phone and I said, listen, I said, it takes two to argue. I said, would you like a solution? Yes, I want a solution. I said, what are you wanting her to do? I'm wanting her to clean her room. And I said, okay, here's what you say. Sounds like you have a lot to say, acknowledging what she wants, right? Sounds like you have a lot to say. I really want to hear it as soon as you clean your room. Love you.
I
But
love
mom, you're this, you're that, you love the other kid more. What it sounds like you have a lot to say. And I'd love to listen to you as soon as you clean your room. Love you. And you broken record that. And I know the younger people don't know what a broken record is, but our age,
Yeah.
it's when the record skips and it's the
Yeah.
same sentence over and over. And if you can find a magic sentence, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So
Wow.
what happened is the energy went down. The task got done. And when they came back to talk, there wasn't all that angry energy.
Oh my gosh. Is that the tomato story? No,
No.
that's not the tomato story. What's the tomato story? And can we use what tactics could we use with an adult? I can see how that would work with a child.
It's a little more challenging with an adult, only because typically by the time I'm talking to people, they have a lot more um, not held boundaries. So
Yes.
start with everything. We have to pick one area and then figure out a statement that would work for them in that situation. And people don't like it. If they've been
No.
able to get away with it for a long time and
Yes.
not held those boundaries, you're going to get some kickback.
Yes, that's true.
You're going
That's
to,
true.
because they want things to be the same
Yeah.
and they expect it to be the same, especially as adults.
Mhm.
So it can be a little more tricky. It's not undoable.
Yeah.
It's really kind of finalizing and getting in tune with what it is, where the boundary you want to set first. What's the most important one? And that really comes, I like to talk about energy a
Yeah.
lot too. So our energy also tells a lot about what we need to work on or what's a good area to start. And another story. I love stories because they're way better than just me talking. But if you walk into a house and there's there's nobody visible, sorry, to you, but you walk in and you feel anger. Has that ever happened to you?
You walk into a house and feel anger.
Yes, somebody else is in the house and they're angry, but you can't see them.
Uh, no.
No? Okay. Okay. I have, but I had a very different household growing up. But if somebody's angry, even if you once you see them and you haven't spoken to them, can you tell they're angry?
Yeah.
Okay. So that has an energy to it.
Yeah.
So I talk to people about constrictive energy and expansive energy. Anger is constrictive, hope is expansive. And I
Mm.
tell people to pay attention to their body.
Mhm.
Energy doesn't lie.
Mhm.
It doesn't.
Right.
And
Right.
so coming from that space, starting to, I call it notice what you're noticing, starting to pay attention to how you feel in certain situations.
Yeah.
So then you can know this doesn't feel good to me. And for me, sometimes it would take me a week or longer to figure something out.
Right.
Something would happen, and then a couple weeks later, I'd go, "Man, I wish I would have said this, or I didn't realize
Right. That's
how
true.
hurtful
Mhm.
that was."
Mhm.
Now I can do it sometimes sooner, but it
Mhm.
really is about paying attention to ourselves and our own energy and trusting that
Yeah.
it's okay to have a reaction to something. What
Mhm.
it is a gift to bring it
Mhm.
to our attention so we can heal it, so we can
Mhm.
address it.
Mhm. Yeah, and so it is kind of destructive to our own self to allow people to cross our boundaries and to continue to allow that to happen because it wears away at
Yes,
your self-esteem, right?
yes,
And so part of building healthy self-esteem is maintaining, I call it minding your boundaries, right?
yes, yes. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And it's hard to do. Let's
It
see.
is. It
Somebody said
is very.
100. And it does not like Shannon Rice Maruli is here. Welcome, Shannon, and welcome, Joe Jackson. Okay. So yeah, the business of setting boundaries is like it's difficult because like I said before, setting boundaries will alienate some people,
Yeah,
right? And you said people kind of will get angry when you try to draw a line to change the
sometimes.
communication. Hmm.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
change it.
it can be done with love too, and with grace and honoring the other person. And an example, listen, I know we've done it this way, but this really is hurting me and I need to make some changes. Would you be open to talking that out with me?
I should have done that a few months ago when I.
Now that takes two people who are willing to communicate, and that's not always the case.
Yeah. You know, a cousin of mine said some things a couple months ago, and I did, because I'm learning to be authentic and learning boundaries. I confronted her. I did it in a loving way. I didn't focus, my focus was not on being loving per se. My focus was on making my point, right? Making her understand that what she said offended me. But my cousin was so mature. and, and I'm taking this that she loved me so much. She
Yes.
was trying to apologize for her choice of words, and she wanted to talk it out. And I
Ah,
was like, oh my God, this is what. And then we ended up on such a beautiful note where now we respect each other even more. So
yes.
she taught me how I can lovingly set boundaries, right? And because I had failed a few months before with another family member in the way that I communicated, trying to set that boundary. So that one didn't work out very well. But yeah, so I see the importance of drawing those lines with love and with grace. Shannon really likes to say guts and grace.
It
Yes,
it
you
guts
gotta have
too.
the guts to do it, but do it with grace. Yeah, yeah,
Well, it respects the other person and where they're at as well. And
yes.
most people don't, we get angry because of our interpretation of what happened. And we're responsible for our interpretation too. So we can decide to make it um, maybe a little softer, or maybe they didn't intend it to come across that way. A lot
Yeah,
of it can be perception, and that's where the tomato comes
true,
in.
true.
Somebody told me a long time ago, they said, "What if somebody called you a tomato?" And I went, "No big deal. Okay, thank you." But if they called me another name, I would turn that meaning into something else. So I can actually turn whatever they said into tomato if I choose.
Okay, right. It's the meaning that you attach to what is
Yes.
said.
Yes.
Right. If you want to go and be offended and internalize what they said.
And then that makes us angry and strike back, right?
Yes,
We're
yes, yes,
hurt.
yes,
We're
yes,
hurt. When
yes.
really, what is the opposite of love?
Hate? No?
Apathy.
Anger?
Apathy.
Apathy, apathy. Okay.
If
Okay.
someone's angry, they love you.
If
They
someone is
care.
angry, they
They
love you.
care. When you've been ignored,
Oh,
does that hurt more?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joe Jackson says indifference.
Indifference, exactly. Same thing.
Yes, yes.
That is way more hurtful than someone being angry. So if someone's angry again, it's a gift to bring up for us to pay attention to, and us to see what we can do to make that relationship better. This is real surface. I really don't want it to sound Pollyanna-ish, and I hope it's not.
I
There's
wanted to
takes a
get
lot of work to get to that
I
point. And
wanted
there's
to
people
get
that are
this.
dealing with really very challenging situations and very challenging people, and I don't want to give light to what they're going through either, because it's real, right? And it does take two people to be, or more, to be in those situations, but we can with little steps.
Shannon says, it's always the meaning we give it. Your guest is teaching. You're teaching, Kim. Teach us. This is what I was hoping for today. Go ahead, girl.
Well, that's really it. Is we really do give meaning to the words that are said to us. And another example, I had a prescription that I was trying to get processed, and I it wasn't getting called in, and I was upset, and I kept calling. Oh, they're doing it. Well, come to find out, I went in because I had a feeling, and always assume the best of people if
Yes.
if you can. So I went in, I had some Starbucks gift cards, and I gave one to the doctor, to the assistant, and to the lady who had been helping me on the phone for days. And
Yeah.
I said, y'all have got to be doing a lot for this not to be done, because I know your intention is to get it done. And it turns out the doctor that was helping me, trying to help me, just got news that she needed a double mastectomy. You
Wow.
never know what people are going through.
That's true.
And
That's
if we
true.
can help the negative stuff go over and wash off like water off a duck's back. And I am not perfect at this either,
Yeah.
but it helps us to see the person in a different light, which is someone who's hurting, or someone who's frustrated, or someone who's overworked, but they're doing the best that they can in the situation that they have. And
Yeah.
getting angry is only going to make it worse. So,
Yeah. Wow. Mm-mm. Expansion. You talked about expansion versus contraction, and how anger is is
contraction.
contract, right? And grace and hope, that's expansion,
Yeah,
right? And your words and how they create life or death.
yeah,
Your words are very impactful.
very much so. And even impactful to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I have said things to myself, and I know most people have, that we wouldn't speak out loud to anybody. The
That's true.
things we say are so cruel.
So we need to set boundaries with ourselves too.
Exactly. Loving her,
Wow. I need
loving
to
her.
set some boundaries with
Yes,
myself.
ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, you're making me do work.
No,
Making me do work,
I'm
Kim.
going to tell you, I'm going to give you a hack. So if you take a breath in through your nose, out through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw, 2 more times. This literally takes our nervous system from fight, flight, freeze to rest, relax, regenerate.
Rest, relax, regenerate.
So if you are reacting to something, then being able to take a breath in the moment, and this is including, Shannon, thank you, this is including with boundaries, because we are reactive to when somebody does start pushing our boundaries. So taking a breath and getting centered first is really important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, Shannon, about boundaries. We need to figure out what our boundaries are first. That's the most important thing. And a lot of that comes from self-love. That there has to be some kind of self-respect and self um, guidance, and really getting in touch with what we want and what we need as far as boundaries. So from there, you can figure out some things. And that's where I talk about the energy, because if you're in a situation and it doesn't feel good, sometimes, like for me, it took me a long time to figure out that when I had a feeling of contraction, it was because either a boundary was being broken, or I hadn't set a boundary, or I needed to set a boundary. But I was so literally fishy for years because I didn't have any as a kid. Nothing was created for me. So it really is about what's okay with you, getting to your core values, having an idea of what's okay and not okay, how people talk to you, how they don't. Um, those kinds of things are where boundaries are going to start.
Yeah.
And if you're brand new at setting boundaries, I don't recommend doing a whole bunch at once,
Yeah.
because you are going to have, be kind with yourself. If you want to set a boundaries on how people talk to you, like my example, setting that boundary with a broken record is a good way to do it. Hey, I know you're angry. I can't talk to you right now. I'm not going to talk to you when you're angry. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn around and walk away now. Saying things that are empowering to you, but not disempowering necessarily to the other person.
Wow. I hear Lisa Nichols calls that carefrontation instead of
Yes.
confrontation.
Yes.
Yeah. Carefrontation.
Yes. Very
Saying
good.
it's not
Yes.
because I'm trying to hurt you, but I'm trying to improve this relationship.
Right.
hmm Yeah.
And I have had that happen. I have had situations where I've literally needed to leave the house. Not recently.
Yeah.
But in my past, I've had relationships that I've had that weren't, and at some point, you can either continue to stay in it or you can make a change.
But too, I grapple with this. Becoming while you're figuring out what exactly your boundaries are, becoming um isolating people, right? Becoming unapproachable, right? Becoming difficult. Well, I'm just trying to figure my way out, but until I get to that safe space, I am kind of maybe irritating people
And allow yourself
or
grace with
pushing
that
people
too.
away.
Yeah, but that's a process. And allow yourself some grace and tell yourself, I'm working through this and I'll get to the end of this sometime.
Yeah.
It's not going to, it's not going to last forever,
Yeah.
hopefully. But because it's uncomfortable, humans don't like to be uncomfortable. We don't like to deal with stuff. We want to be happy.
I also feel like because I'm working on setting my boundaries and not being as available to, let's say, family members, and I've kind of retreated, but there's no one coming after me. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm starting to think, okay, was I just too much before? And maybe they're relieved that I'm not so much anymore.
Or
Yeah,
maybe they're honoring your boundaries.
maybe
And
they're.
now you get to set new ones.
Oh,
Boundaries they're ever going because we're human beings and we change.
so maybe they're honoring my boundaries. Look at that. See, there we go again with perception and self talk and all that kind of stuff. So you want us to create a future story. Um, you had an example of the hiking and trails.
That goes into a little bit more of creating our self-esteem and creating um, our positive impression,
Yeah.
and even cycles that we're in. So there's a really good example of taking a hike, and I think most people can relate to it because I think most people have at least walked in a park and gone out and or camping or something. But
Yeah.
imagine a pathway that's very well worn, going to a beach or going in the mountains, whatever. That path is the one that most people take all the time, but you always see little offshoots
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are sometimes not, that you can tell people haven't walked on them too much. When we start to create a new pattern or a new way of doing or a boundary,
hmm
our our brain takes us down that well-trodden path.
Yeah.
That's why it's so hard to lose weight. That's why it's so hard to keep commitments. It's because we're literally creating a new neuron pathway in our brain. There's a really
Mm.
good book, The Brain That Heals Itself. Absolutely fantastic
The
book.
brain that heals itself.
It goes into it a lot more, but um, whenever we try to create a new habit or a new boundary, we're walking on that untrodden path. And so every time it comes up, our brain wants to go straight down the one we used to go on. So
Yeah.
we have to mentally, physically sometimes turn our energy to go the way we want it to. And so a lot of times we do need to pause. A lot of times we do need to, I take deep breaths all the time
Wow.
just to help me center myself and really get clear on, am I being expansive or contractive? How am I feeling right now? Getting in touch with what I want so I can set that boundary or continue to hold that boundary. You didn't do it this, I've been inconsistent, right? So when I set the boundary and then I let somebody cross it, and I don't want, sometimes you just don't want to do it. Honestly, you get tired.
Yeah, right.
So then going back and saying, you know what, I made a mistake and I let that happen, but this is my boundary and I'll do my very best. But this is really what I want to have happen, and being clear on it. And also, it's okay to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. It's okay to be vulnerable. Yeah, we have a hard time with that.
To some degree, yes, to some degree. And y'all know where you can and can't be. But we are going to make mistakes when we set new boundaries. And having some grace for ourselves, but also for other people with that, is a way to be really kind to ourselves while we're going through the process, because you're not going to do it perfectly.
Yeah. Now, do you do a lot of boundary work with your clients?
It really depends. Mostly what I do is um, take them through what's called a Dream Builder program, which is really focusing on what they want out of life. But ultimately, when people want a goal, it requires looking back at what they need to change. And a lot of times boundaries are included in that.
Sounds to me like, girl, because this boundary thing is many layered, and it's
It is. And the more I get into it, the more I realize how multi-layered it is, and how much it really does have to do with why we don't reach our potential sometimes, and why we back off our own personal boundaries, like you said earlier too.
Right. And so I'm thinking that people need help with working through this boundary question.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you might want to consider adding boundary work to some leg of your
Yes,
that you
it's on
bring
my
it
list.
so well.
I'm going to be doing a workshop very soon.
Yeah. Because and then you mentioned understanding longing and discontent and how both are gifts. Can you expound on that?
Yes, would love to. So whenever we have longing or discontent, they are signals to us of what we want to have happen in life. Okay. So again, it's a gift. When we have a
Oh,
longing,
so good, Kim.
when we have longing for something different, that is a signal to us that we want more. And it's great to have that. Human beings, as thank goodness, we constantly want more. I mean, our lives would be so boring without it.
Yeah.
But our discontent is also a way that the universe, God, speaks to us through discontent. So looking at those two things, and I look at 4 different quadrants in your life where those things are coming up for you, and then turning that into, what do I want to have happen? So
Okay.
longing and discontent are huge parts of the program I go through with people.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
I know we are going all over the place, but honestly, folks, it all relates back to boundaries.
It all relates.
It really does. I'm not giving specifics. There are so many YouTubes. If you're looking for something specific on a specific topic, please, I'm happy to chat with you. My phone number, I think we'll have all that up there. But
Yeah.
it really,
All of Kim's contact information, you guys, is in the description box. Scroll down to the bottom and look for Kim's contacts. All of her information is there. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, her email, everything. If you
and
want,
I am just getting started, folks, so be patient. This is something, like I said, I've wanted to do for 40 years. And the last, the brain that heals itself. Is there a chat available on there? Winsome?
Yeah.
later? Okay. I'll find out, Yvette. I'll find out the right title, and I'll put it in the chat after after this is over.
Yeah. Lori says, thank you, Kim and Winsome. You know Lori?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
do.
All right. And you also talked about notice what you're not noticing. Notice what you're noticing. Oh, you mentioned that before, to pay
Yes.
attention to our intuition and to energy and
Right.
our
But
gut.
that also goes several layers deep, because when you first start paying attention to what's going on, it can be a little mind blowing.
Yeah.
Because number one, it's paying attention to the self talk we have.
Yeah.
It's paying attention to what's going on in your responses to it. Somebody says something to you, and again, notice what you're noticing. Notice your response. How do you feel? Is it contractive? Is it expansive? Do you want to, maybe look into that a little later on your own? Have some quiet time. Those are all, the notice what you're noticing has been a key part for me and my growth, because it really does bring up those paradigms, which are our ways of thinking that keep us stuck, right? And those paradigms that keep us stuck are like that trail in the mountains or whatever. We keep going down the same one because we don't know what to do to change it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't see the picture when you're inside the frame.
Right.
And I
Right.
love that, but that's really what. So starting to pay attention to what's going on in your head, what the comments are, what the judgments, those have been big for me.
Yeah.
Listening to what I actually say to myself and going, oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I don't believe that anymore. That's not me. I am a woman who is a business owner, is caring, is celebrating. And that's the other thing, once I'm so much celebrate. I love what you're doing about your celebration page. I just thought that was amazing.
Yes. Yes. Again, guys, the
She found it.
celebrating every little effort. I'm going to put more effort into celebrating my boundaries, celebrating,
Yes, the little ones.
honoring
Because
my boundaries.
what we focus on grows.
What we focus on grows. Yeah. And I don't want to get to that place where I am like fighting to maintain my boundaries, where I'm putting so much effort into it that I'm seen as a person that's confrontational.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's gonna take some work. It's a skill. It's a skill
Well,
to
it's asking yourself a question too. What can I do? Not how, because how is limiting.
okay.
What can I do here to honor myself and the other person?
Uh-huh.
And giving yourself time to process that, because it's not a one for all, which is why there's no magic formula for boundaries.
Hmm.
But it's also something that it takes time and it takes commitment to.
Yeah, yeah. My goodness, I'm so glad to have you here today. By
Thank
the
you. I'm
way,
so glad to be here.
there is a venting hotline available to you, and the link is in the description box. If you want to come on for about 30 minutes and just vent about you're not being able to set boundaries, or what setting boundaries means to you, or what happened when you try to observe your own boundaries, and that venting hotline is there for you. It's called Speak Your Peace Venting Hotline, and the link is in the description box. You are welcome. I am a good listener, guys. That's one of my
Yes.
gifts. I'll be there. I'll be there on the other side to hear you. I see the brain that changes itself. They may,
Yes. Thank you for that correction, Yvette.
yeah, the brain that changes itself. Okay, okay, all right. All right. So now, did you say you're creating a gift?
I am. And there's a couple things that I'm putting together. I'll actually put it in the chat. I wanted to do a lot more, but again, I need to look at my boundaries on how much time I actually have to create stuff.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
brain always wants to do way more.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to put together a PDF for everyone of some common things, common statements, really quotes that I really love, some books that have been extremely helpful for me. And then the brain that changes itself, again, that one is huge.
Yeah.
That's where I learned about the neuron pathways, was from that book.
I bet Shannon Maruli would be interested in a book like
It's
that.
phenomenal.
Now, you guys, I invite you to drop a comment and like the live or like the replay and leave us a comment and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Thank
Me
you once
too.
again, Kim. You have been amazing. I am so glad we had this talk. I'm so glad you were the one to deliver this talk today. And as you mind your boundaries, guys, may there be ease within your being and may you be free. Thanks for joining
Absolutely.
us, guys. I'll see you next week with another
Oh, can't
exciting
wait.
topic.
Winsome, thank you so much for what you bring to everyone. I really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you, Kim. Bye, guys. See you later.
Hey, bye bye.